How would you respond if your partner suggested that because of their low libido, you get a friend with benefits? Today, we're going to find out. I'm Leah Carey, schmex and relationship coach, and we're here to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright terrible advice given by Dear Abby. Do you swear by Dear Abby or at Dear Abby? Let's get into it. Extinguished in Virginia writes, Dear Abby, I've been married for the last 25 years to a wonderful man, Frank. We're very happy in all areas except Frank has lost all interest in intimacy. About a year ago, he told me I should find someone else, a friend with benefits, to take care of my schmexual needs. At the time I said no, hoping he would be interested again. But now, after a year of waiting, I am seriously considering finding a friend. Do you think I should follow through with it or keep waiting and hoping Frank will change? Do you have any advice about how to restart the intimacy in our relationship? Abby responds, Dear Extinguished, you and your husband need to have another serious talk about this. He should also talk to his doctor and ask for a referral to a urologist and an endocrinologist who may be able to help. The inability to achieve an occurs in some men around age 50 and even younger, which is why Viagra is such a popular drug. If your husband is willing to discuss this with a medical professional, it may be the solution to his and your problem. Before I answer, remember, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. It really makes a big difference in terms of people finding this channel and this content. Here's what Abby and a lot of other people seem to not realize about libido. It changes over time. And there's not a good libido to have and a bad libido. It's not like if you have a high libido, you're normal, and if you have a low libido, there's something wrong with you. The level of our libido simply is, and then we get to decide how to handle that. Now, yes, she's right. There are some people who have some kind of hormonal issues that if they are concerned about the level of their libido, they can absolutely have checked out. There are plenty of men and even women who are using hormonal testosterone to increase their libido. And if that's their choice and they have gotten the all clear from their doctor, there's no problem with that. But there are also lots of people who have experienced a lower libido over time, and they don't need to change that because they're happy and comfortable with how they are. In my conversations with people, my experience has been that there are people who have a low libido and want to change that. And there are people who have a low libido and are being pressured to change it. And they're two very different groups of people. So the person with a low libido who wants to change it is actively desiring more intimacy and schmex than they're having, and their body just isn't participating the way that they want it to. Then there's a group of people, and this is regardless of gender, who have a low libido and are being pressured either by their partner who wants to be having more intimacy and schmex, or by the cultural assumption that having a low libido is a problem, and they are pursuing a fix to their libido issue in order to satisfy some need for normalcy. The truth is, having a low libido is perfectly normal. There are some people for whom a low libido is their state of existence through their life. We might call these people aschmexual or demi-schmexual because they have a lower interest in intimacy than our culture has decided is normal. There are other people who have fluctuations in their libido throughout their life, and I would suggest that that makes up probably like 95% of the population, because you probably have experienced in your life that there are times when you are more excited for that type of intimacy, and there are times when you've been stressed out, or maybe there are little kids in the house and you're both exhausted, or for any number of reasons, there are medical issues going on, there are financial issues going on. There are a million reasons why somebody's libido might rise or fall. Another thing that happens is that people age and their interest wanes. Now, there is, I think, some acceptance of the fact that this happens for women. In fact, it's kind of an expectation at this point that when a woman goes through menopause, she is going to just lose all interest in schmex, which is not actually true. It may be true for some women, but there are lots of us who have gone through menopause and are still interested in intimacy. But when the table is turned, we expect that a man is not going to lose interest because men are fathering children well into their 70s and even their 80s. Just because some men can doesn't mean that all men should or need to. So all of this is swirling in misinformation and mythology. Is Viagra a popular drug? Absolutely. For the people who want to be having more intimacy than their body is naturally allowing for. But we should never, ever pressure somebody into using a drug of any type just because we think that maybe what they're going through isn't natural. If they're okay with it, let them be okay with it. This man, Frank has actually done a great kindness to his wife Extinguished by saying, I'm not able to meet your needs, and I still want you to be able to get your needs met, as opposed to what happens in a lot of relationships, which is, I'm not able to meet your needs, and I still want you to remain monogamous with me and just accept this as your new normal, which honestly, I don't think is fair. If Frank and Extinguished got married with the expectation that they would be monogamous schmex partners and that they would both be interested in having a regular intimacy in their life, and then the circumstances have changed, it is reasonable to have a conversation about what new circumstances might look like that allow them to both feel satisfied. A friend with benefits in this situation can be incredibly helpful. It can allow Frank to be in this happy relationship and not be worried about Extinguished building up resentment and causing problems in the relationship. This is something that I've experienced. In 2023 and 2024, I was going through health issues that left me unable and also uninterested in any type of schmexual intimacy with anybody, including my partner. He has another girlfriend. This is something that we decided before I had the health issues that we were going to be non-monogamous, and her presence in his life helped me to get through that period of health issues because I wasn't worried that his needs were going unmet and therefore he was becoming resentful or angry or whatever. I knew he was getting his needs met on a regular basis, and then he was able to come home and be really present with me in supporting me through what was a really challenging time. So I, in fact, not only feel supportive of that relationship, I am deeply grateful to his other girlfriend for being in that space with him when I couldn't be. It was a huge burden lifted off of my shoulders that I didn't have to worry about getting better quicker so that I could be his schmex partner. in fact, if my partner had been pressuring me to get better quickly enough to meet his needs, that would have put an immense amount of stress and pressure on me. So in this situation, I empathize with Frank tremendously. It may not be just an offer, it might actually be a request. Please find someone else to fill these needs for you so that I can relax and not worry about the fact that you're not getting your needs met. That, again, I think is a really generous way to handle this situation. It's certainly not going to work for everybody, and I'm not suggesting that it is the only or the right way to deal with it. What I'm saying is that for Frank and Extinguished, this might actually be the thing that allows them to continue having the happy, healthy relationship in all of the other areas of their life that they have enjoyed thus far. So should he go see a urologist and an endocrinologist? If he wants to, but I don't see that as a requirement. And I certainly don't see it as some type of onus on him to help solve her problem when he has offered a perfectly reasonable solution on his own. Now, her recommendation about having a serious conversation, that one I'm on board with. So if I were sitting down and talking with Frank and Extinguished, I would suggest 2 resources for them. The first is one called Negotiating Mismatched Libidos. This is a conversation guide that actually takes you through a conversation about where you're at, what your needs are, where you're not matching, and how to move forward. Now, if Extinguished and Frank have already made the decision to move forward on the friends with benefits path, they may not need this because they may have already, moved through this piece of the conversation. But if they're still trying to make the decision, negotiating mismatched libidos could be really helpful to them. The next is if they do decide to move forward with Extinguished, finding a friends with benefits, it's going to be really useful for them to have talked out all of the little details that can kind of crop up and derail things when you're not used to living in the world of non-monogamy. And so to help to have that conversation, I would suggest my course, How to Create a Successful Relationship Agreement. This is the agreement that's going to help you sort of lay out the ground rules of what this looks like. Is Extinguished going to have a certain schedule with a friends with benefits? Is there going to be a limit to how much time she spends with them? What is her husband going to want or not want to know? There's so many things that just need to be ironed out before you move into a big change like this in your relationship. And this class can be really helpful in starting those conversations. So I highly recommend Negotiating Mismatched Libidos and How to Create a Successful Relationship Agreement. Also, I have a podcast episode that focuses on exactly this issue, where a husband has a lower libido than his wife, and she has found a friends with benefits to fill that gap. I'll leave the link in the description. Was this helpful? I hope so. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. And here's the question of the week. Would you ever consider a friends with benefits situation if you and your partner were going through a period of mismatched libido? Would you consider offering it? Would you consider accepting it if it were offered to you? I would love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below. And remember, you are worthy of love, and I'm going to help you get there one conversation at a time.